Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, everyone.
Welcome to Hampstead Heath.
We're on the heath, and it's very sunny, but not very hot. Still quite cool. But we're just going to start the second canto reading today. So we'll be starting with the verse, and we'll do the invocation, and then actually the first verse of the second chapter is the same invocation. So we'll read that. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
So it's the second canto, first chapter, verse 1. O my Lord, the all-pervading personality of Godhead, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Purport. Vasudevaya means to Krishna, the son of Vasudeva. Since by chanting the name of Krishna, Vasudeva, one can achieve all the good results of charity, austerity and penances, it is to be understood that by the chanting of this mantra, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, the author or the speaker or any one of the readers of Srimad Bhagavatam is offering respectful obeisances unto the Supreme Lord Krishna, the reservoir of all pleasure. In the first canto Srimad Bhagavatam, the principles of creation are described, and thus the first canto may be called creation.
Similarly, in the second canto, the post-creation cosmic manifestation is described. The different planetary systems are described in the second canto as different parts of the universal body of the Lord. For this reason, the second canto may be called the cosmic manifestation. There are 10 chapters in the second canto, and these 10 chapters, the purpose of Srimad Bhagavatam and the different symptoms of this purpose are narrated. The first chapter describes the glories of chanting, and it hints at the process by which the neophyte devotees may perform meditation on the universal form of the Lord. In the first verse, Shukadeva Goswami replies to the questions of Maharaj Parikshit, who asked him about one's duties at the point of death. Maharaj Parikshit was glad to receive Shukadeva Goswami, and he was proud of being a descendant of Arjuna, the intimate friend of Krishna. Personally, he was very humble and meek, but he expressed his gladness that Lord Krishna was very kind to his grandfathers, the sons of Pandu, especially his own grandfather Arjuna. And because Lord Krishna was always pleased with Maharaj Parikshit's family, at the verge of Mahaparikshit's death, Shukadeva Goswami was sent to help him in the process of self-realization. Maharaj Parikshit was a devotee of Lord Krishna from his childhood, so he had natural affection for Krishna. Shukadeva Goswami could understand his devotion. Therefore, he welcomed the questions about the king's duty, because the king hinted that worship of Lord Krishna is the ultimate function of every living entity. Shukadeva Goswami welcomed the suggestion and said, "Because you have raised questions about Krishna, your question is most glorious." The translation of the first verse is as follows.
This is text 2.
This is verse 1. That was the invocation.
Sorry. So this is verse 1. Sri Sukadeva Goswami said, "My dear king, your question is glorious because it is very beneficial to all kinds of people. The answer to this question is the prime subject matter for hearing, and it is approved by all transcendentalists." Purport. Even the very question is so nice that it is the best subject matter for hearing. Simply by such questioning and hearing, one can achieve the highest perfectional stage of life. Because Lord Krishna is the original Supreme Person, any question about him is original and perfect. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said that the highest perfection of life is to achieve the transcendental loving service of Krishna. Because questions and answers about Krishna elevate one to that transcendental position, the questions of Maharaj Parikshit about Krishna philosophy are greatly glorified. Maharaj Parikshit wanted to absorb his mind completely in hearing, and such absorption can be effected simply by hearing about the uncommon activities of Krishna. For instance, In the Bhagavad Gita, it is stated that simply by understanding the transcendental nature of Lord Krishna's appearance, disappearance, and activities, one can immediately return home back to Godhead and never come back to this miserable conditional material existence. It is very auspicious, therefore, to hear always about Krishna. So Maharaj Parikshit requested Sukadev Goswami to narrate the activities of Krishna so that he could engage his mind in Krishna. The activities of Krishna are non-different from Krishna himself. As long as one is engaged in hearing such transcendental activities of Krishna, he remains aloof from the conditional life of material existence. The topics of Lord Krishna are so auspicious that they purify the speaker, the hearer, and the inquirer. They are compared to the Ganges water which flow from the toe of Lord Krishna. Wherever the Ganges waters go, they purify the land and the person who bathes in them. Similarly, Krishna Katha, or the topics of Krishna, are so pure that wherever they are spoken, the place, the hearer, the inquirer, the speaker, and all concerned become purified.
Jai.
Wow.
Srimad Bhagavatam Ki.
Jai.
So that's what we're doing. We're hearing the message of Lord Krishna, Krishna Katha. So hoping that we can become purified in some way. Or at least me. Text number 2. Those persons who are materially engrossed, being blind to the knowledge of ultimate truth, leave many subject matters for hearing in human society, O Emperor. So Shukadeva Goswami continuing his answer. Purport. In the revealed scriptures there are 2 nomenclatures for the householder's life. One is Grihasta and the other is Grihamedi. The Grihastas are those who live together with wife and children but live transcendentally for realizing the ultimate truth. The Grihamedis, however, are those who live only for the benefit of the family members, extended or centralized, and thus are envious of others. The word Medi indicates jealousy of others. Interesting. The Grihamedis, being interested in family affairs only, are certainly envious of others. Therefore, one Grihamedi is not on good terms with another Grihamedi, and in the extended form, one community, society, or nation is not on good terms with another counterpart of selfish interest. In the age of Kali, all the householders are jealous of one another because they are blind to the knowledge of ultimate truth. They have many subject matters for hearing: political, scientific, social, economic, and so on. But due to a poor fund of knowledge, they set aside the question of the ultimate miseries of life, namely miseries of birth, death, old age, and disease. Factually, the human life is meant for making an ultimate solution of birth, death, old age, and disease, but the Grihamedis, being illusioned by the material nature, forget everything about self-realization. The ultimate solution to the problems of life is to go back home, back to Godhead. And thus, as stated in the Bhagavad Gita 8:16, the miseries of material existence, birth, death, old age, and disease, are removed. We just had another little visitor.
The process of going back to Godhead, going back home, back to Godhead, is to hear about the Supreme Lord and His name, form, attributes, pastimes, paraphernalia, and variegatedness. Foolish people do not know this. They want to hear something about the name, form, etc. of everything temporary, and they do not know how to utilize this propensity of hearing for the ultimate good. Misguided as they are, they also create some false lectures about the name, form, attributes, etc. of the ultimate truth. One should not therefore become a Grihamedi, simply to exist for envying others. One should become a real householder in terms of the scriptural injunctions.
Nice distinction between Grihasta and Grihamedi.
Interesting point about it. Medi means envious.
Jealous.
Jealousy, because you find that people want, like they say, keeping up with the Joneses.
Yeah, I was thinking that. It's a nice point.
Always trying to outdo nice home, nice, better looking.
Oh, look what they have. Oh, look what they have. Look what he's done. Look what their kids are doing. Look how their kids are successful. And like that.
And that's a Grihamedi consciousness. Even though you may feel, no, but we're pious or do it, but you may hold that consciousness,
But in the third canto, we recently were discussing with our Grihasta group the definitions between Grihasta and Grihamedi, and just so it's clear, because sometimes this word Grihamedi is used as like a blatant sense gratifier, but actually Grihamedis, they're also pious persons who perform Vedic rituals or Vedic sacrifices. They do yagyas, but they perform ritualistic activities or religious activities for the purpose of them making progress to the higher planets, or for their family members to achieve success, or to earn money also. But they're not just blatant sense gratifiers. They're actually pious or religious people, but it's just that their main focus is their own self interest and improvement, so like that.
Verse 3. The lifetime of such an envious householder is passed at night either in sleeping or in sex indulgence, and in the daytime either in making money or maintaining family members. The present human civilization is primarily based on the principles of sleeping and sex indulgence at night, and earning money in the day, and spending the same for family maintenance. Such a form of human civilization is condemned by the Bhagavat school.
Because human life is a combination of matter and spirit soul, the whole process of Vedic knowledge is directed at liberating the spirit soul from the contamination of matter. The knowledge concerning this is called Atma Tattva. Those men who are too materialistic are unaware of this knowledge and are more inclined to economic development for material enjoyment. Such materialistic men are called karmis, or fruitive laborers, and they are allowed regulated economic development or association of women for sex indulgence. Those who are above the karmis, that is, the gyanis, yogis, and devotees, are strictly prohibited from sex indulgence. The karmis are more or less devoid of Atma Tattva knowledge, and as such their life is spent without spiritual profit. The human life is not meant for hard labor for economic development, nor is it meant for sex indulgence like that of the dogs and hogs. It is specifically meant for making a solution to the problems of material life and the miseries thereof. So the karmis waste their valuable human life by sleeping in sex indulgence at night, and by laboring hard in the daytime to accumulate wealth, and after doing so, they try to improve the standard of materialistic life. The materialistic way of life is described herein in a nutshell, and how foolishly men waste the boon of human life is described as follows.
Verse 4. Persons devoid of Atma Tattva do not inquire into the problems of life, being too attached to the fallible soldiers like the body, children, and wife. Although sufficiently experienced, they still do not see the inevitable destruction. Purport. This material world is called the world of death. Every living being, beginning from Brahma, whose duration of life is some thousands of millions of years, down to the germs who live for a few seconds only, is struggling for existence. Therefore, this life is a sort of fight with material nature, which imposes death upon all. In the human form of life, A living being is competent enough to come to an understanding of this great struggle for existence. But being too attached to family members, society, country, etc., he wants to win over the invincible material nature by the aid of bodily strength, children, wife, relatives, etc. Although he is sufficiently experienced in the matter by dint of past experience and previous examples of his deceased predecessors, he does not see that the so-called fighting soldiers, like the children, relatives, society members and countrymen, are all fallible in the great struggle. One should examine the fact that his father or his father's father has already died, and that he himself is therefore also sure to die. And similarly, his children, who are the would-be fathers of their children, will also die in due course. No one will survive in this struggle with material nature. The history of human society definitely proves it, yet the foolish people still suggest that in the future they will be able to live perpetually with the help of material science. This poor fund of knowledge exhibited by human society is certainly misleading, and it is all due to ignoring the constitution of the living soul. This material world exists only as a dream due to our attachment to it. Otherwise, the living soul is always different from the material nature. The great ocean of material nature is tossing with the waves of time, and the so-called living conditions are something like foaming bubbles, which appear before us as bodily self, wife, children, society, countrymen, etc. Due to a lack of knowledge of self, we become victimized by the force of ignorance, and thus spoil the valuable energy of human life in a vain search after permanent living conditions which are impossible in this material world.
Yeah, search for happiness in the world of death. Our friends, relatives, and so-called wives and children are not only fallible, but also bewildered by the outward glamour of material existence. As such, they cannot save us. Still, we think that we are safe within orbit of family, society, and country.
The whole materialistic advancement of human civilization is like the decoration of a dead body. Everyone is a dead body flapping only for a few days, and yet all the energy of human life is being wasted in the decoration of this dead body. Sukadeva Goswami is pointing out the duty of the human being after showing the actual position of bewildered human society activities. Persons who are devoid of the knowledge of Atma Tattva are misguided, but those who are devotees of the Lord and have perfect realization of transcendental knowledge are not bewildered.
Yeah, that whole material advancement of human civilization is like the decoration of a dead body. So decorating a dead body, I mean, we may do that at the funeral so the body looks nice, but in one sense you could say, what is the use of decorating a dead thing, or something that is that body is not going to get any benefit. And so, all the progress in material life, material advancement, it's just because this is just like a dream world. It's all going to come to pass. So why are we spending so much time investing in decorating the dead body kind of thing? O descendant of King Bharat, one who desires to be free from all miseries must hear about, glorify, and also remember the personality of Godhead, who is the Supersoul, the controller, and the savior from all miseries. In the previous verse, Sri Shukadeva Goswami has described how the foolish materially attached men are wasting their valuable time in the improvement of the material conditions of life by sleeping indulging in sex life, developing economic conditions, and maintaining a band of relatives who are to be vanquished in the air of oblivion. Being engaged in all these materialistic activities, the living soul entangles himself in the cycle of the law of fruitive actions. This entails the chain of birth and death in the 8,400,000 species of life, the aquatics, the vegetables, the reptiles, the birds, the beasts, the uncivilized man, and then again the human form, which is the chance for getting out of the cycle of fruitive action. Therefore, if one desires freedom from this vicious cycle, then one must cease to act as a karmi, or enjoyer of the results of one's own work, good or bad. One should not do anything, either good or bad, on his own account, but must execute everything on behalf of the Supreme Lord, the ultimate proprietor of everything that be. This process of doing work is recommended in the Bhagavad Gita 9.27. Also, where instruction in the Bhagavad Gita 9.27, also where instruction is given for working on the Lord's account. Therefore, one should first of all hear about the Lord. When one has perfectly and scrutinizingly heard, one must glorify his acts and deeds, and thus it will become possible to remember constantly the transcendental nature of the Lord. So we have to hear perfectly and scrutinizingly, and then we have to glorify. So we hear about the Lord, then kirtanam, through shravanam, we kirtanam, then we have to shravanam, and that means smaranam, remembrance. Hearing about and glorifying the Lord are identical with the transcendental nature of the Lord. And by so doing, one will be always in the association of the Lord. This brings freedom from all sorts of fear. The Lord is the Supersoul, Paramatma, present in the hearts of all living beings. And thus, by the above hearing and glorifying process, the Lord invites the association of all in His creation. This process of hearing about and glorifying the Lord is applicable for everyone, whoever he may be, and it will lead one to the ultimate success in everything in which one may be engaged by providence. There are many classes of human beings: the fruitive workers, the empiric philosophers, the mystic yogis, and ultimately the unalloyed devotees. For all of them, one and the same process is applicable for achieving the desired success. Everyone wants to be free from all kinds of fear, and everyone wants the fullest extent of happiness in life. The perfect process for achieving this here and now is recommended in the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is uttered by such a great authority as Srila Shukadeva Goswami. By hearing about and glorifying the Lord, all a person's activities become molded into spiritual activities, and thus all conceptions of material miseries become completely vanquished. So again, being stressed here how important it is to hear and chant the glories of the Lord.
Verse 6. The highest perfection of human life, achieved either by complete knowledge of matter and spirit, by practice of mystic powers, or by perfect discharge of occupational duty, is to remember the personality of Godhead at the end of life. So that's the answer to his question. Purport. Narayan is the transcendental personality of Godhead beyond the material creation. Everything that is created, sustained, and at the end annihilated is within the compass of the Mahatattva, material principle, and is known as the material world. The existence of Narayan, or the personality of Godhead, is not within the jurisdiction of this Mahatattva, and as such the name, form, attributes, etc. of Narayan are beyond the jurisdiction of the material world. By the speculation of empiric philosophy, which discerns matter from spirit, or by cultivation of mystic powers, which ultimately helps a performer to reach any planet of the universe or beyond the universe, or by discharge of religious duties, one can achieve the highest perfection provided one is able to reach the stage of Narayan Smriti, or constant remembrance of the personality of Godhead. This is possible only by the association of a pure devotee who can give a finishing touch to the transcendental activities of all jnanis, yogis or karmis in terms of prescribed duties defined in the scriptures. There are many historical instances of the achievement of spiritual perfection, such as that of the Sanakadi Rishis, or the 9 celebrated Yogendras, who attained perfection only after being situated in the devotional service of the Lord. None of the devotees of the Lord ever deviated from the path of devotional service by taking to other methods as adopted by the jnanis or yogis. Everyone is anxious to achieve the highest perfection of his particular activity, and it is indicated herein that such perfection is Narayan Smriti, for which everyone must endeavour his best. In other words, life should be moulded in such a manner that one is able to progressively remember the personality of Godhead in every step of life.
Nice place to finish it.
Yeah. And that is the simple perfection of Lord Krishna consciousness. You don't need to move into the temple, and you don't need to renounce this or change your job or anything. You just need to change your activities so it revolves around Krishna consciousness as opposed to the other way around. Where if, I need to squeeze in my rounds, or I need to read, or I need to... It's like you want to live in material life, but I better try and drag in some Krishna consciousness. But it's just moulding your life in such a way that Krishna is naturally in the centre, however that looks for everyone, which is different. Which is different. It's not one size fits all. And on that note, we'll stop because there's a dog coming around.
Hello, doggy. Okay, thank you all very much. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Reaching to the dogs ki jai.